In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a special bracket here where we have these colors, and every color when you hover over will show a tooltip defining what this basically means. And you can see here, if you have the tooltip here, this will just show, and then if you go away here, and it will show back this one. So let's start to look how to create a custom tooltip for the brackets in chart.js. First of all, we have to make sure we have our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. And this link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code here. Next, if you want to get the end result or the source code at the very end of this video, then check out my Patreon where you can get the source codes for many of my videos. Alright, we're going to go down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. We have to build first our colors, and because of that I want to change this into a line chart. So I go down here and just say this will be a line chart. Save, refresh. So now we have this, and what I want to do is I want to get this eventually as black, but I will keep these colors, or basically this one you can all remove, but I want to keep these colors for later on. So I'm going to copy this and just put it somewhere here as my colors for the design later. Alright, and then I'm going to remove all of this, so we have just a single black line here. Now what I want to do is I want to have segments of colors. So for example, here we have this from 18 to 16 will be like green or blue, and then we have green, yellow, and red, something like that. How do we do this? Well, I'm going to create a new plugin here. I'm going to say comma, I'm going to say plugins, and I'm going to say bracket. And then in here, let's call this color bracket or color zone. I guess that should be fine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say constant color zone equals, and then we're going to say here the ID will be the color zone, and this will be important later on, so make sure you have this. And then we're going to say here before data sets draw, because I want to draw these underneath the line here. So this line will overlap on top of whatever the colors at the background is. So then we have here three items: the chart, the arcs, and the plugins. And then in here, what I'm going to do first is an object destructuring. If you don't understand what I'm doing here, please check out my video in the description, which has the title of Understanding Chart.js Object Destructuring. Very important to understand. So then what I'm going to do here, CTX. I'll probably need the canvas, although I'm not sure about that, but we definitely need the chart area. And the chart area should have curly braces. And then in here, we're going to say here top, bottom, left, right, let me double check that one, right, width and height. We might not use them all, but just having them all for me right now is useful, and of course you can remove them afterwards. Next, I'm going to say the scales, and I want here the X and Y scale. Alright, so now we have this here. What I want to do is I want to say ctx.save to save all variables above and have this default setting saved. What I'm going to do now is basically I want to draw a rectangle shape here. So let's start to work on this. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, what is the color? So let's make one first, and after we're going to loop through that by giving multiple colors that we have prepared here above. So I'm going to say here ctx dot, and I'm going to say here fill rectangle, and then the fill rectangle, or let's say fill style for the color. And for now, I'm just going to get a single color here, which is the red color. Let's grab that and put that in here. Then what I want to do is I want to say here ctx dot fill style, or sorry, not fill style, fill rectangle to draw the item. And for this, what we need is the x coordinate, the y coordinate, and then I need to have the width and the height. The width is easiest one because we have that one here, and the width will basically define the width from this point all the way to there. So that is the easiest part that we can do. Height will depend by calculating, and then the x coordinate, well, where will we start? Well, we want to start at the very left side. So I'm going to say here the left side, and then here we need to calculate. This will be basically, if I want, for example, 16 to 18 being the color red, we can put in these, and we need to make sure that this will be understood nicely in chart.js. So how do we do this? Well, we need to convert these, and what I'm going to use here for is a built-in function in chart.js which is called the y dot, and the y is coming from the scale here. So the y scale dot, And then we're going to say here, get pixel for value. And what I want to do here is our starting point. And the starting point in this case is 16 to 18. So I start with the lowest first, then go to the highest. So I'm going to say here 16. And then here we need to calculate now the width, or sorry, the height. So the height would be going to 18, but we need to calculate this with a formula. So what I'm going to do here is basically this. I'm going to grab here this 16 that we had here, but I'm going to change it to 18, the highest value, minus the 16. The reason why I'm doing that is because of the canvas calculated top as 0 and down as the higher value, depending on how much the height is. And if I'm not mistaken, this should be maybe about 600 or 700 pixels in height. So this is very important to understand. So if you don't understand the chart area that we had here, study that one and study how canvas works. But if I save this right now, refresh, you can see we get this nicely. So if I want, for example, I want to start at from 12 to 16, all I do here is I'm going to say the starting point will be 12, and this one will be 16. If I save that, refresh, it jumps down nicely. So this works now, and we have that working. Of course, what I want to do is not only one item here and multiple hard-coded. I want to soft-code this by building a structure for this. So to do that, we have this color zone here. I'm going to copy this, and this will become now an advanced option with the plugins. So I'm going to go down here. After the scales, pay attention here because we have plugins here, but after the scales, we can put another plugin. So we're going to say another plugins, and this is a advanced feature that you see in advanced plugins, like the data label plugins, where they have like these options. So we're just copying it and emulating that structure as well. So what I'm going to do here now is, let's break this down. What do we need? Well, we need a color. So we're going to say here, the color, I guess we can say here, the color zone first. Then we're going to say here, well, let's do a position first. We do need a position. I'll put a comma here, and later on we're going to break that down more. We will have colors, put another comma, and then we can have here the names for each bracket, because what we want to have is the tooltip showing here. I put it here on purpose in the corner, so it will not conflict too much with our tooltip here. So let's give this an array, and we're going to say here, because we have, let's say, 4 items. The first item will be the perfect, which will be the light blue color. Perfect. And then we say here good. You can make anything you want. I guess warning. So that will be yellow or orange. And then we have danger for red. So then we have here the colors. And for the colors, just to make it nice, I'm going to use these colors here because they are quite easy on the eye. So I'm going to grab this one. This is the red color. So in the colors, the red one should be the very last, I realize. So let's put that there, and then I should just work on an exactly opposite order. Anyway, for now, this is the red one. Put it here. So then I want to get here the blue color, and the blue one is the second in line here. That's blue. Remove these, or at least make sure you only have one quotation here because it's a string value. Then we have here the green. The green is the 4th color in here. And then finally we'll get the yellow or the orange. Alright, put that in there. Here, this is the last one, the warning. And I'll take the orange because it's easier on the eye, and if I'm not mistaken, it should be this color here. Copy that. Put it in here. Alright, so now we have this. If I refresh, of course nothing happens yet. We're not done here because we have this item here that's blank. So if you look at the position, what we just did here, you have this item here, 12 and 16. These are what we call the Y positions on the scale. I guess you cannot see it right now here. If I save this and refresh, now you will see that. So we have this Y scale item. So for the position, we're just going to make here a proper structure. This is an array, so we have a bracket, but we have also curly braces because there's an object in here. So we're going to say here Y starting point, colon, comma, Y ending. And the first one will be related to the blue color, which is the very top, so 16 to 18. This will be 16 to 18, for example, and you can put any value you want. And I'm going to just copy this. 4 times, so we have 4 specific items. So when it's good, it's considered, let's say, 12 to 16. And then when it's becoming a warning, let's say this will be 6 to 12. And finally, everything that is danger is 0 to 6. So if I save this, refresh, nothing happens yet because we need to connect this now nicely. So let's start to connect them. How do I do this? First of all, let's get the color connection. If I do the following, I'm going to show you. We can say here, if I do this plugins, and this is the reason why it's so easy, and I'm going to say your colors. And I'm going to just get an index number right now. I just say index number 0. If I save this, refresh, it gets the blue color, and that is exactly what I want. So that's the first one, and this works nicely. Of course, now I need to loop through this. So what I'm going to do here is change this a bit. I'm going to create here, and what I need here is the plugin. So I'm going to say here, the plugins. And if I do, let's do a console log, you will see the plugins as well. And then we can for loop them. Refresh, open up developer tab. Alright, you can see here a lot of proxies. I guess you will not see that immediately here. But if I do here dot position, we should see here the proxy and all the position numbers. Apparently this doesn't want to get it. Alright, doesn't matter so much because it understands it comes from here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just say here this item dot for each. And so for every position item we have here, we're going to loop through this so we have multiple brackets. So what I'm going to say here, and we can say here the for each, and then we're going to make sure we're going to say position comma index. So we need the index, and then put in here a function error expression. Then I'm going to cut out this item, put it in there. And once I have this here, we probably can say index. And here what we need is the position value, and more specifically the position dot y start, if I'm not mistaken, y start and y end. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say position dot y start. I'll copy this because here it's again, and then here we have the position y end. If I save this, refresh, now we have this. Only we have this one purple. Let's fix this quickly just to make it perfect. All right, I'll just get this yellow one. So I probably just took the wrong one there, but that's all right. Just make it yellow, then it will be a bit more logical. There we are. And that's also still quite decent on the eyes. So what I want to do now is, we have now the colors here. So we're done with this part. I can save this, and then we can say here, ctx.restore to make sure that it will undo everything here above. Ctx restore. There we are. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to have is now the tooltip that if I hover over this box here, it shows here the name of that specific bracket. Perfect, good, warning, or danger. So to do this, I'm going to use some other tricks. I know there's a better way. I couldn't figure it out for now, so forgive me about that one. But this is a way you can do as well. So what we're going to do here is we need to create an add event listener to get our mouse move. We're looking at the coordinates of our mouse, and then we can see if under which bracket it falls, and then show here the name. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say here, because we want to have the chart object, because we want to do an add event listener on that chart object, and then I'm going to say your canvas. And I guess that was the reason why I was trying to figure that out. Use the canvas here, but it didn't work, so I'll just ignore that one, remove that. We'll put it in here. So this is the canvas, and then I'm going to say add event listener, and then what I'm going to do here, I'll say here based on the mouse move. It's like a hover, but it's not exactly. Why? Hover is if I hover over the canvas, I'm hovering on the canvas no matter what. So it will only say yes, it's hover. But what I want to do is when I move my cursor, I get the X and Y coordinates. That's important. So it's a mouse move on the canvas. So make sure you have mouse move and not hover. So then I'm going to say here, this is the event that we're going to register, so we can get that event here. So then what I will do here is, let's say here it's the zone or color zone tooltip. All right. And what I want to do here is quite simple. I want to get here the chart object, which is my chart. That says this one here. But also I want to register the event that we have here. So once we have this, and this is color zone, you might wonder, what is this then? This is our function. So now we can create this function, and that function triggers whatever happens and do what we want to do. So we're going to say a function, this, and then of course we're going to say my chart. I'll just rename that as a parameter of chart, and the other one will be just the mouse move parameter. So once we have this, let's do a console log, and we say here mouse move. We're going to get now some coordinates nicely. Refresh, mouse move event, and you can see here, we get here the coordinates. And the coordinates eventually what we need to have here is the offset x and y, or more specifically, the y will be only important, but you can have them both if you want them. But I'll be focusing on the y only because our scale has basically the y values that are important. So what I want to do here is I'm going to get here the coordinates. So I'm going to say here, let's see here. Well, let's do a, I guess here the constant y coordinate, because I want to have the y coordinate. And what I want from the y coordinate is the mouse move dot offset y. So if I do this now, console log, we get this, save, refresh. We should see here the mouse move, and let's remove this one there. Then you should only see the coordinate. There we are. So if I go up, I'm going closer to the 0 until I hit outside of the chart area or the canvas. And if I go down, I will go to whatever the canvas is. I guess that's 300 plus pixels. Alright, now we have this. What I want to do as well, because we need the object destructuring, what I showed you previously, we do it again here, because we need these. This is very powerful tool that we can use. So it's a chart, and then we take the chart here. What I want to do here, I need the CTX, because I want to draw on the canvas. And what I will need here now is also the configuration, because what I want to do is I need to get into this area here, the plugin here of the color zone. So I'm going to say here the config, because you can see here from my chart, I go into config, and from config, we can go here into plugins. So config, colon, we're going to say here, I guess that should be the options first, of course, and then we're going to say here plugins. Alright. And then from plugins, we can go deeper. Now we have this. What I want to do as well is the chart area. So make sure you have these curly braces here, curly braces, comma. Chart area. We'll be needing that again. Let's say here will be probably, well, we need here maybe the top, bottom. Well, I guess we can just put them all. We can remove them if you don't need any of these others. Although I think we only need the top and the right. Everything else is probably not necessary. I'll just remove these. Just keep it like that for now. Next, what we need is the scale, because we're going to work with the Y scale a lot. So we need to have the Y scale at least. So now we have these here. I want to do here ctx.save. Make sure you do the ctx.save after you did the object destructuring, because the ctx is recognized here. Alright, now we have all of this. I guess now everything else can be removed. So what I'm going to do now is the following. We're going to create our so-called tooltip here, and we want to have as well in that tooltip is the text, whatever, when we hover over certain brackets. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say here ctx.begin path, because I'm going to create a new shape, and I want to say create a shape, and this shape is a new shape independent of anything else. Make sure you do this, or else sometimes colors, shapes, and lines will bleed over to other places where you don't want them to bleed over to. Very important. Make sure you do this. So now, what I want to do is, I'm going to say here, what's the color? So I say ctx.fill style, because I want to have the tooltip in a blackish color. I'm going to use the RGBA, which is the official color for chartjs 000. I think their tooltip is 0.8 or 0.7. So it's has a slight transparency, but it's very hard to spot. 80% solid color. Now what I want to, because I want to make it like a rounded rectangle. So I want to use a rectangle, but I will say ctx.roundRec, which is a nice item that they also have for the canvas. And what I want to do here for the round rec is basically this. I need here the x coordinate, the y coordinate, the width, the height, and what we call the radii, which is basically the border radius. So to make it very simple, we're going to say 5 pixels for border radius. And where do I want to put it? Well, I want to put it here somewhere. So what I'm going to say here is the right position minus a x amount. How much that will be will depend eventually on the text width. So we have to calculate it later on. So what I'm going to do is just for now, minus 50. So we have to figure this still out. Then we have here this, I will say this will be on the top. So it's on the right top, but maybe 10 pixels down, minus, or no, plus 10. Because if you go minus, it will push it up. If you plus 10, it will go down. The width will be based on the text width. But now I'll just say this will be 50 as well. Just make it simple. And the height, I'm going to give it 20 pixels. So if I save this right now, you will notice that nothing happens yet because we're still missing some items. And the one that we miss is ctx.fill, because now we're drawing a shape. If you have the fill rectangle, it will instantly work, but the round rect, we need to have this command to draw the shape. Make sure this is semicolon. Save, refresh. Alright, so now we have it, but of course it doesn't go away. So we have to make sure that this goes away. Although it will disappear once you're on the tooltip here. So that's the only restriction that we have here, but it's a quite acceptable restriction in my personal opinion. But of course you can fine tune it if you want to. However, that will be quite tricky. Anyway, we have this here. You can see I want to move it a bit more to the right. This to the right, and then maybe that one, or we can say it here. So I'm going to say here maybe minus 10 or something like that. Well, I have to check on this one. Well, let me just wait with this before I get ahead. So we have this right now. So what I can do now, maybe that's the first one, is let's get in and put in the text. ctx.fill style equals white. I want to have a white font here, and I'm going to say ctx.font. We need to specify it. I want to make this bold, 12 pixels, and then we're going to say font family was sans serif. So once I have that, enter, we can say here what is the text we want to draw. So I'm going to say here ctx fill text, and for now we're going to put in here whatever the text is. I'll make it the string for now. Then you have here the x coordinate and the y coordinate. This one will be probably very close to what we have here. So I'm going to test this for now, but we have to still recalculate a bit. So if I save this, refresh. Alright, as you can see here, it works, but not entirely. I want to make sure that, first of all, this width of this box here will be matching with the text. And you see this text is still a bit floating up. We need to make sure we reposition this. But what I'm going to do is, let's calculate how much is the so-called width of the text. So for this, there's a nice built-in tool for that as well. So I'm going to say here, ctx dot, let's call this our constant text width. So we'll calculate the width, and I'm going to say ctx dot measure text, whatever the text is. For now, I just say here text, and I say dot width. This here will calculate how many pixels basically this structure is, and to make sure that we have this correct, I want to move this one up here. And the reason why is because we have here 12 pixels and this font family style. So this needs to be consistent with bold, so you will understand it needs to be based on this condition here. If you don't do this, it might not be bold, or it might be in different pixel size that you want. So make sure that this is in the right position. So then we can just copy this, and we're going to put that one in here. Well, the round rect here, the width can be here. And then we're going to say here, this, well, let's save that and just see what is the result. Alright, now it starts to work. But what I want to do is I want to push the text down, and I have this positioning here. That sounds a bit weird. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, what we can do here is minus the width for now. So then it's there, but then I want to move still 10 more pixels. So I'm going to say here this, and then again minus 10 pixels. By doing that, we are now away 10 pixels. This box here is, to be honest, still quite small. So we have to give it still a bit more proper spacing. Well, we have to look on that one. What we have to do, probably I will just say here for now, plus 10 pixels. So it's like a padding around there. Alright, that starts to look better. Now what I need to do is I want to move this down and move it to the center. So what I'm going to do here is within this area, we can say here ctx dot text align equals center. Save. Alright, interesting. We get this, but not really what I was hoping for. But probably here the text width needs to be here. Because we're in the center, we probably have to divide this by 2 to move that. Because we have here this 50, let's get here the text width and see what happens. Alright, there we are. We're getting this one. And although not exactly, to be honest, but let's say here, if I would divide this by 2 to be in the center, save that. Alright, and then what I would do is I give it 10 pixels. Let's say 10, or not even plus 10, but minus 10, so we move it more to the left. Alright, that starts to look really nice in the center, but I still have to push it down. So I need to push it down. How many pixels, basically? We have here plus 10, but I realize plus 10 should not really be, because our text is here, but this box is how many pixels in width? Let's look at it here. It's 20. So probably we can do here plus 20 to get this more in the center. Alright. So now we're getting it, but of course it still doesn't disappear. So we have to do still a few more things. First of all, we have to make sure that the text is now automated into whatever the text is here above. So I'm going to grab this one now. And that's why we had here the options with the plugins. And what I want to do here then is, well, we have, probably we could keep this. This one doesn't have to do, but we have to create a for loop where we have to check, are we hovering on this area? Show this. Are we hovering here? Show whatever this is. This would be good. This is perfect. This is warning. And this one is danger. So that needs to change here nicely. Let's see, where do we need to work on that one? Because that text is dynamic like this here. I'm going to create here a for each loop. And how do we do this? I'm going to say your plugins. In the plugins, I want the color zone. And then we get here the names. And then we say dot for each. Alright. So this is very important for us. And if you're wondering why, it's basically going to do this. Let me show you. I'm going to copy this. This text here will be, we'll put in here index 0. You will see that this will get just the name of text. Alright, interesting. That's text. Of course, because this text here should be here as well. But you can see the text is already, the space is changing. So now if we go here, perfect. Alright, so if I do here 1, you should see a good or positive or what it was. There we are. So now we have to make sure that this will nicely work. So what I'm going to do here is a for each loop within this. So this for each loop will do a few things. First of all, the for each loop will get for every name, and then we have to check where we're hovering. Are we hovering within this area, or here, or there? So all of this can be cut out. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to give this a proper indentation. And I guess we can give this another indentation here. And what we can say here is the index. So first of all, I'm going to get here the index. And this is the index as well. Then what I need to know is how do we measure where our position is? Well, for this, we're going to use a built-in functionality. And we're going to create an if statement. So we say if, and we're going to get here the y coordinates. We need to know the y coordinates. If the y coordinates is smaller than whatever the pixels is of our starting and ending. Alright. So we can say if this is smaller than y, then we're going to say get y dot get pixel for value. So basically we're going to get the value which is the 18 or 16 converted into a pixel coordinates. And then we're going to say here, this will be, let's grab that one, we need the color zone, plugin color zone, dot position, index, whatever the index is, dot y start. So if this one is smaller than this, in that case, and then we do another and, let's see, make sure we have all of this correctly, because we have here many parentheses, so watch out for that. Parentheses here and a parentheses there, alright? And if, let's copy this again, put it in here, but we say this one will be bigger than y n. And the reason why is because of the way it's calculated, because pixels start 0 and down goes up to 350. Anyway, it's complicated, but just follow along, you will see you get a desired result. So if this is the case, in that case, all of this code should work nicely. Put it in there. Proper indentations. One more here. There we are. I guess that should keep everything a bit organized. Save. Refresh. And now we are perfect. Good. Oh. As you can see here, we have still some tiny issue here. You do notice that this will disappear and then the eventually will come. But let's solve this here. Because what happens, it prints on top of each other because I forgot to empty it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here in the brackets, and let's see here, this one here, or not in the brackets, in the color zone tooltip, but here I'm going to say here will be chart, which is basically the chart object, dot update, and then we're going to say here none. So what happens, it will refresh every time nicely. There we are. Of course, if you have this here, it will disappear, and then it takes some time. That's the only tricky part of this, so there's no solution for me for that one, but anything else here works absolutely phenomenal. You can see here it all shows nicely. There you are.